Hello and welcome to the afternoon session. We got a great panel here today. So today what we're going to talk about is creating novel CBD formulation and blends. So what is some stuff that we can add to our CBD to kind of supercharge it instead of just talking about a broader and full spectrum. So let me introduce the panel today. We have Dr. Daniel Sliva. He is a PhD from the Czech Republic, and his company is Midwest Hemp Testings, and their big focus is on testing efficacy of the CBD. And next we have Evan Ogburn. He's the founder and co-owner of Farm CBD in Bedford, Kentucky, a company that's certified, company that specializes in cultivation, processing, and formulation of high-quality, contaminant-free, cannabinoid-based healthcare products. And then we also have Dean Johnson. Dean Johnson is the founder of Applied Botanics in Louisville, Kentucky. He's Canadian, so we won't hold that against him. But over 25 years of business experience with 5 years in. Off the topic with kind of something that I think a lot of people are looking for, the next great cannabinoid, right? So we'll ask these fine gentlemen here is, what is the up and coming minor cannabinoid and terpene that kind of gets you most excited? So start with the good doctor.
Okay, so what we're actually doing in the lab, we are looking for the real efficacy, because everybody is claiming some activities based on the literature. However, in the lab, we have cell-based assay, and I'm going to be talking about it one more tomorrow afternoon, but briefly, we can take immune cells, we can induce inflammation in these cells, and we are testing if we can block inflammation by CBD, CBG, CBN, full spectrum, broad spectrum, THC. And by that one, we can really quantify and identify what is really effective and what is not effective. Because you can see on some products, they have usually COA. I'm not saying that all COAs are total fraud. However, what we tested in the lab, we took COA, it's supposed to have something like 99% CBD. We run HPLC, it was only 85, by the way. And we were testing the real efficacy. And again, efficacy is totally different in some cases than the concentration, which is called potency, which is not exactly correct. But why I'm saying that? Because you can say you can have really pure CBD, it's supposed to have specific efficacy. However, in your final product, you are going to have mixture of some other stuff, and in some cases, you are actually blocking or inhibiting the efficacy. In addition to that one, actually, we are testing terpenes and different combinations and essential oils with CBD and with other stuff. So the point is to really identify the best combination where we can have synergistic effect.
So which is there a specific cannabinoid that you feel is, the next up and coming one?
Okay, based on the data from our lab, and as I mentioned, I'm going to explain more tomorrow, definitely what is really great is CBG. CBG is really great. THC, the anti-inflammatory activity is not so great, but obviously people are not using THC, to block inflammation. So, but
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, we are cannabinoids. We do a lot of formulations that target these minor cannabinoids. And I can tell you from our direct experience, CBG, CBN, CBC, and THCV are 4 that we're really focused on, because the results we're getting from our clientele, whether it be our private label clients or our direct-to-consumer clients that we have, for a variety of different areas from a therapeutic standpoint, is really kind of mind-boggling, to be honest with you. We're talking folks that have chronic sleep apnea. They haven't been able to sleep for years and years. And with our sleep gel formulation, we combine CBD, CBG, and CBN at therapeutic doses, we're changing people's lives in that way, right?
Yeah.
So I think, like Doctor said here, I come from a pharmacology and pharmaceutical background. You have to understand the science behind these things before you can properly dose any kind of thing from a formulation perspective. So we start with the R&D perspective, and then we work our way up to these minors. And I can tell you, we're at the tip of the iceberg. You're talking 6-8 compounds that we just talked about out of a potential 150 from this plant, right? That we're still learning about, that we're still exploring. So we've got a long way to go, but those are kind of the 4 heavy hitters that right now that we're pretty primarily focused on.
Are you combining them with CBD, or are you
Yes,
doing
in some
them
formulations we
okay.
do. We combine with terpenes. We do a lot of combination, plant adaptogens. We extract a lot of different things in our laboratory. So combination works really well. But like you said, we can have inhibitors or activators either way. So we've got to be cognizant of that during our formulation steps.
So in this case, actually, for the formulation, what is really crucial is the biological assay. It means to have the real efficacy, because you can put something together which is based on the literature, but you really don't know if it's effective. Plus, in addition to that one, if you can find, or we can find, synergistic effect, so it means you can take one compound, reel it down. So it means it's going to be cheaper. So it's not overkill, and still you have great effect. So
Yeah.
And I'll say one other thing real quick is don't sleep on CBDA either.
Okay.
In terms of breaking blood-brain barrier, that penetration capability with that acid group attached is very, very effective. The issue is manufacturing it and keeping it stable, but we standpoint in that sense.
A lot of people sleep, I think, on THCA and CBDA because I think there's not much literature on it, and a lot of people don't even realize what it is. So does everyone here know what CBDA and THCA is? Okay. No? Do you want to explain what it is?
So essentially it's the native form of CBD and THC that's actually in the plant itself. Either extraction or even like smoking. So if you take hemp flower or even marijuana that has high THCA content, when you smoke that, it decarboxylates and converts into the free form THC. So same issue with CBDA from the hemp plant. Most extraction processes are going to yield or induce decarboxylation. So you lose that CBDA, but through our processes and the way we're able to do that, we can really conserve quite a bit of that to keep it around. So in a sense, that's it. It's the native form of the compounds in the plant.
And
awesome.
This is actually, it was the problem in Indiana, because what was possible to have smokable hemp. And the THCA and CBDA, they are precursors of CBD and THC. And again, we analyzed it in the lab. It was nice, legal, because it was 0.3% of THC. However, during that time, THC was considered only THC, but not THCA. Now, if you have certificate of analysis, you have 0.877 multiplied by THCA plus THC. So it's gonna give you together the real level of THC. So why I'm saying that, because it was one guy, he came to our lab, okay, this is great, I am so happy, and it's only 0.3, it's written there. So we analyze it, okay, but it has something like 5% of THCA. THCA per se, it's not active, but if you are gonna smoke it, you are gonna decarboxylate, so it means THCA, it's gonna be turned to THC. So that is for the explanation, if you are gonna see the certificate of analysis. Now, what is considered, you have to look for the total amount to be in the legal levels. Yeah. Actually, in the state of Indiana. In other states,
it is state specific, but same way in Kentucky.
Yeah. Great answer. Mr. Dean?
Yeah, I guess from my standpoint, I'm really looking forward to the research being done. One of the things we've focused on with Applied Botanics is in building a scientific board to really work on research and development of of additives to CBD. CBD is, as we know, is a great carrier in the endocannabinoid system. So what we've done with our formulations currently is we've brought in different terpenes for different effects to bring into the CBD realm. But I'm looking forward to really the studies coming forward with CBG. It's been a lot of talk that it can help with a lot of vascular issues as well as eye and anti-inflammatory, of course, which most of them are, but help with glaucoma. And right now my mom's suffering from that, so it's kind of near and dear to my heart, and helps to reduce pressure in the eyes. So,
Is there any terpenes that you're seeing specifically that kind of get you?
yeah, well, some of my favorites are actually myrcene's a fantastic one for helping with insomnia and sleep. We've got a product we've designed with a significant amount in it that helps with sleep disorders.
Yep.
Humulene, cariphyphyline, they're anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. They help with just a whole different array of body function. And as mentioned, with nowadays with the level of stress everybody has from COVID and being at home and cooped up, limonine's a fantastic one. And what else was I thinking with that one?
What about the beta cariphyllene?
Yeah, cariphyphyline we use as well, yes, for anti-anxiety as well.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's dandy.
Yeah. So, kind of going off of, I'll let you take this next question. So, kind of going off of what you were saying, what additive supplements, kind of what they call API, right? Do you see everything going towards everyone and their mother has got a CBD with melatonin, right? But what are some other supplements that you think would be a good additive to supercharge the endocannabinoid system or to help with CBD's effect? So I'll let you go.
I think there's an array you can bring. It comes down to what effect you're looking for. If you're looking for anti-inflammatory, alpha-pinene is good for that, as well as eucalyptol, and then getting into treatment, depending what treatment you're looking for. From a stress standpoint, as we mentioned, limonene and cariphyphyline are fantastic. Linalool for anti-inflammatory as well, antioxidants. There's really no real end to what you can add to CBD to carry through your body for the benefit, and it comes down to each person's going to react differently to it. So it's one of those hit and miss type things when you're trying product. I guess the biggest thing is be able to find products that work for you and to stick with those, really. But I think it's a matter of when you're looking at terpenes, especially they can have a lot of different effects. Well, you can start looking at adding vitamins into it, and I said CBD is a fantastic carrier.
And Evan?
Yeah, so we do a lot of this. This is kind of our niche, I guess you would call it, in the market, is combining CBD, cannabinoids, terpenes with other known nutritional supplements or plant. It just depends on what effect you're going for. But from an anti-inflammatory standpoint, turmeric and curcuminoids are extremely effective for that. Arnica as well, from a pain and inflammation standpoint. We do them both topically and orally from a sublingual dosing potential. But we're also really big into plant adaptogens, rhodiola rosea, some mushrooms, chaga, lion's mane, things of that nature from a stress and just mood boost standpoint. So it really, the opportunities are endless, I guess you would say, but it's a lot of R&D work, just understanding, how these function in your body, what receptors they tie onto, how your P450 in your liver is going to break these things down. There's a lot of work there. So, people are, like you said, people combine things with melatonin, but, and this really isn't the point of the talk, but just be careful about what you're using and where it's coming from. We can't preach that enough. We come from the pharmaceutical space, so good manufacturing practice and actually knowing what potency of your extracts are before you actually dose them. That's a really big thing that is just lost in this space, and it has been for a long time. So I would say that, we enjoy the combination and making those blends, and we see a lot of great effect from it. And I think that's really going to kind of, I guess, catapult the space as a whole. I think that's really going to allow us to form into different realms from a nutraceutical standpoint. So, yeah.
Actually, we are trying to do it really scientifically. So it means you want to have some product, okay? So, and you are targeting your product for some specific disease, but you are not supposed to talk about disease because FDA is going to jump on you. So let's talk about some specific medical conditions. In this case, we can actually, in the lab, because my background is molecular biology, we can identify specific signaling in cells, and we are trying to affect these signaling in cells. So these are cell-based assays, and after we can put it together and to really find what is most effective. Because the majority of companies, they can read, the good stuff in the literature, however, not all compounds are created equal. So what is really important to put it together and test it. And it should be based on science, because now we have the science, in our hands.
So are you looking at using some of these, like let's just say turmeric? Are you looking at turmeric and putting into cell assays and seeing how the cells respond to the turmeric? Is that what you're studying? Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So so we're, for example, looking for, I'm not gonna talk about inflammation, but about obesity. So we can find specific natural compounds which are able to affect human fat cells. And we can see how they can affect it.
Yeah.
Now we can combine it with CBD. So we are actually targeting or attacking different pathway. So we have the whole effect together. So
yeah. Have you looked at CBD in combination with some of these things in these cell assays?
Yes.
Have you seen results that have, kind of shown exactly what you think, like CBD combined with turmeric is more anti-inflammatory?
Yes, yeah,
okay.
And that is what I was mentioning at the beginning, the synergistic effect. And I'm gonna simplify it. Okay, you have drug A or CBD and something. If there is additive effect, it means 1 + 1 = 2. This is additive effect. But what is the best effect is synergistic effect. It means 1 + 1, it's actually 3 or more. So that is how we can test it. In addition to turmeric and CBD, there is another huge, I would say, misconception, because CBD generally, the bioavailability, it means absorption, depends on the solubility. CBD is water insoluble. So it means the absorption of CBD is between 6 to 8% only. You can dissolve it in the oil and you're going to something like 24. Or you can use nanotechnologies. But again, there is misconception. Because nanotechnologies, it means that you are something totally to destroy to teeny tiny particles, okay? These are tricks. You can put it into the water, practically it's clean, it's no problem. However, it's small, doesn't mean it's really dissolved. So that is what we have done in the lab. We created such a called autosomal nanoparticles. So it means that CBD is totally dissolved in ethanol, and after that we can prepare specific micelles, and after that from these micelles we can prepare really teeny tiny nanoparticles. And again, we validate this data or that it works in the lab and also with some products. So I know it seems the science is a little bit complicated. I don't want to overwhelm you with that one, but it's not like that, when it started with CBD, that, let's say 3 years ago, you can buy, or the people were selling some CBD, and, Facebook was full of the CBD, and the people are asking, how come that it has different color coming from the same, producer? Obviously, this is not the same. So what I'm saying, what is really crucial to test it, to be sure that is the highest quality and actually that is really effective.
Yeah, I think that's a big point. And we can't really harp on it enough. It seems like every talk I get on, I end up talking about quality more than anything else. But your consumers want a consistent effect, right? They want that product to be the same bottle to bottle, batch to batch. And the way you do that is through good manufacturing practices and quality control and quality assurance from seed to sale. If you're taking products that aren't made that way, then you're not going to get maximum effect and maximum efficacy every time you take that dose. So, I know you say science and things like that is still kind of evolving, but a lot of this research has been around for a long time. You know, the Israelis have been doing this research for 60 years. So there's a lot of science out there that you can pull from, and that's just on the cannabis plant. You talk about turmeric and things like that, other herbs, you know, there's a lot of data out there. If you read into it and you understand the science behind how your body works and how the receptors in your body work, you can put together some really, really effective formulations. So, and that's what we do. We focus on the science, and we're a completely science-based organization. So, and we've been successful in that sense, and we really have helped a lot of people along the way.
And as you mentioned, you know, the efficacy, again, it's so crucial because, okay, in addition to, you know, my research, I'm old, crazy runner, okay? So I prepared some lotion with these nanoparticles because, you know, with my crazy running, I am inducing inflammation. If I'm inducing inflammation, this inflammation is, you know, causing pain. So I, you know, put together, you know, some stuff, and it really works. And I started, you know, with myself, and after, you know, some friends asked me, so we want some samples, or where is the product? So in the lab, we started to create something, and after we started to sell it, and I would say, for all of you, what is really why I'm talking about is efficacy, because if your product has efficacy, your customers are going back for your product because it's really efficient, and I guess it's number one. If you wanna, you know, to have so many products, sell it, and you know you don't care, okay. But if you wanna have something efficient, it's important because after that, you know, we have customers, returning customers, because it works for them. So,
Yeah, I mean, everyone here knows that the CBD industry has had a black eye for quite some time with a lot of people selling crap products. You know, you Google CBD on Amazon, you're getting bottles that are 20,000, they say 20,000 milligrams of hemp on it for $20. And you're like, what's in it? No one knows, but people are buying it. So yeah, combined with good manufacturing practices and, you know, efficacious products, I think, you know, this industry is continuing moving forward. And I think just adding some of these stuff that we're talking about, turmeric and melatonin, really just supercharge the products. But that's all great. But what about legally and, you know, at the cellular level, do you see any issues potentially with adding some of these, you know, APIs in here with the CBD?
okay. I think, you know, I would say I can see the major problem, or, you know, the major question is still CBD, because CBD is a drug against child epilepsy. If something is a drug, it's prohibited by the law to be dietary supplement. So, and the FDA still, they are deciding, and they didn't decide because, you know, the genie is out of bottle, so they are not able to totally to shut it. But, and that is the reason why I think for the future it's really necessary to focus on some other cannabinoids, because buying for drug with one compound, and CBD is gonna say no, you are not supposed to, or you are not allowed to go with dietary supplement. So that is really huge. These are really huge legal issues.
I can give you an example just within cannabinoids, not interfering with one another, not just other APIs. Take, for example, CBD and CBG. They both bind to the 5-HT1A receptor in your body, but they have two completely different effects. CBD, in that point, is an activator of that particular enzyme and actually has an antiemetic or anti-nausea effect, whereas CBG does not. It has a completely different effect to that, one that's going to be differentiating or consequently going to inhibit the CBD from being effective from an anti-nausea standpoint. I think when you get into talking about other APIs to combine with, it all comes back to the science, in my opinion. You have to understand what that molecule is doing, what set of receptors it's activating in your body, and how that's going to affect the endocannabinoid system, right? So, you know, you could go down the line. There's probably countless of examples that, you know, you're not going to get the effects that you want from, because you either have inhibition of a particular enzyme or activation of a particular enzyme that affects your patient's medicine. Let's take that, for example, right? We see that pretty regularly to a certain extent, and we work with our consumers that way, just understanding that, you know, depending on what you have in your body on a day-to-day basis, you may get a different effect than you did the day before, right? That's pharmacology at its finest. So at the cellular level, like the doctor's spoken on there, it gets even more complex and complicated. But
And and there is and again, I guess it was repeated and it's still repeated again and again. Education is number one, because the people or the salespersons are, putting, or somebody gave them some totally misleading information. And I can tell you, I was so mad when, somebody's coming, okay, CBD is great, CBD binds to CB receptor and it activates the receptor. Sorry, this is total BS. Because CBD actually is such a called allosteric negative regulator. Please focus only on negative, okay? So it means if somebody is going to overdose this THC, which binds to these CB receptors, CBD actually can block this kind of psycho effect of THC. So, be really careful because, and I have seen so many times that the people are trying to talk about, definitely CBD is important, it's great. It activates so many different receptors. So if somebody is starting immediately, endocannabinoid system is so sexy, it binds to and activates receptors. No, in this case, this guy or lady, they don't know what they are talking about.
correct.
And this is really, I would say, really scientifically, it's really bad misconception and bad information because it gives all this industry really that, we are not charlatans, okay?
And specifically, you're referring to the CB1 and CB2 receptors in your endocannabinoid system. There are other receptors in your body that their CBD does have an affinity for, but I agree with that completely. It's a good point.
Yeah, I guess completely agree with comments made, but from our own standpoint, we've been involved in research with, Brown University and University of New York and University of Madrid that came out with basically a study of using CBD to basically prevent or minimize the issues with COVID. We actually had a patent filed here on our behalf in July and then updated in November. But really what they found with CBD is it actually coats your androgen receptor. COVID attaches to your androgen receptor, and that's when where people get sick is where it attaches to the androgen. Androgen is driven by, my understanding, but anyway, this may be completely wrong, but driven by testosterone. More testosterone you have, the more androgen receptors you have, and the sicker you're going to get if you're contracted COVID. And what CBD does, it helps to coat the androgen receptor to prevent it from attaching. So there is a lot of hope with CBD that it could prevent a lot of what we're dealing with today with masks and with vaccination, et cetera. But there's a lot of study needs to be done. Yeah.
If I may, only one comment. Definitely, CBD blocks COVID by different mechanisms. I'm not going into that one now. But be careful, because if FDA is something they don't like, they are gonna send you a letter, and you are supposed to. It's something like the kiss of death. You are supposed to respond in 30 days, but what is actually with COVID? You are going to mention COVID or viral infection and CBD together. This is not going to be that you are supposed to respond to their letter in 30 days. You have to respond immediately. So that this is really, you have to really go around and not mention antiviral or especially not COVID, because they are looking for it, because this is really tricky. So
yeah, I mean I think anyone here that has a CBD brand understands there's a lot of stuff you can't say. I honestly just say, as a medical professional, on my website I just say wellness. How do you define wellness? If anyone ever tried to nail me down to that, right? Helps.
That is actually what we were for some clients.
Yeah.
CBD has great anti-cancer activity. It effectively kills breast cancer cells. You are not supposed to say this is no. You are supposed to talk about the breast health. In this case, you are going around and. But I can publish as a scientist. I'm publishing papers and I'm explaining the mechanism, and this is okay. So you can go around. But if you are gonna claim anti-cancer or specific medical conditions, no, FDA is gonna jump on you.
Yeah. So you can't make the claims for sure, but we have a database and a client base of, we're pushing 100,000 people at this point in time that have had our products for different reasons, right, at this point. And I can tell you that they're effective and that they work. And I'm not just speaking on our product specifically, but these molecules that we're extracting from this plant are very effective, right?
Absolutely.
What we need is for the FDA to come out and give us a set of guidance on how we're going to operate. At that point in time, everything else is going to take care of itself. We can get funding to do the research that is desperately needed, right? We have clinical trials going on with Indiana University at this point, and we're limited. We're handcuffed on what we can really give them to try. I mean, and to actually give to their patients throughout these clinical trials, because we don't have any formal regulation that says these products are made to a certain standard. So I'm hopeful over the next, hopefully year and a half, 2 years maybe, that that's lifted and we have a standard that we can run by. But until then, that would be one thing that I would mention. I mentioned it before. Just be careful what you're taking and who you're working with, because quality is the number one name in the game at this point in time. So.
And according to the clinical trials, that is actually catch-22, because when I was working in academia, I was not allowed to touch CBD or THC. Because if you are in academia, it is the reason for immediate termination. So when I started my own independent business, my laboratory, immediately I was able to do it. And when I'm talking about catch-22, that is how the feds were talking, okay, there is no enough research. There is no enough research because it was not allowed. And it's restricted. So it's really catch-22. So it's still, we are at the beginning. So
we've got a couple minutes left.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. Is there any questions? We'll open up to questions. Yeah.
I have a couple questions. So I too live in Kentucky, and I work for a company called Hemp-derived. We do CBD extraction, but our parent company is a 30-year-old company doing botanical extracts. And so what we're doing with some of our formulations is utilizing and leveraging their IP, their claims that they can make into those formulations. So I have two questions. I'm just going to ask them both. So what do you see as being able to attach claims to other extracts, whether it be APIs or botanical extracts, to legally say those things and make those claims on a label when you're utilizing CBD? Secondly, you mentioned education is crucial, which we all know it is, especially in this industry, to prevent us from potentially giving inaccurate information, especially about the endocannabinoid system. What resources would you recommend that we as representatives of our organizations or our brands utilize to make sure that what we're putting out there when we're trying to educate consumers is accurate?
I can answer the first question with regard to label claims and the FDA. If the FDA has came out and approved, and I'll just give you an example, something that we've done using flaxseed oil as a carrier oil as opposed to MCT or coconut oil or whatever hemp seed oil. The FDA has approved label claims for flaxseed oil because it's high in omega-3 and omega-6. So on that label, you can make those claims. Now, you can't say that this is an anti-inflammatory because that's not a claim that is associated with flaxseed oil. But if the FDA has approved that and there are approved label claims, then legally speaking, you can make those claims on your label. But again, it's not associated with CBD, right? Or cannabinoids in general. And then I guess going back to your second question from an educational standpoint, I don't know if anyone's familiar with projectcbd.org, but they are, it's a website ran by medical professionals and scientists. It's all peer-reviewed literature with regard to science. I can't push it enough. I stay on that on a weekly basis, and they're constantly updating. It's a really, really good resource, and that would be one that I would recommend. Yeah.
So sorry if you guys want to come up, we're getting the hook here. If you guys want to come up and ask questions, we'll be available. But thank you guys for coming and asking some great questions.